You know what I've come to realize? I've come to realize that Law is the only human being in the history of existence, which is funny because he doesn't even really exist, to make this hat work. You know? Like, Law is one of the coolest characters in all of One Piece. He's like top 3 coolest characters, right? And yet, he wears this hat. And this hat is just like, on 99.9% of people, is not cool. It's not cool on me. No, it's not. You don't have to be nice. It looks really dorky on me right now, right? But Law makes it work because he's Law. Alright, speaking of which, I've used this word enough, but who's ready for another Law video today? Law! That's right. Okay, so Barry, we're just gonna... Hold on. Can I make this work? Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to make... Oh, that'll probably fall down at some point in the video, but that is beautiful right there. He still looks cool, even with the straw hat on top of the hat in Funko Pop form, on top of a brick. Still looks cool. All right, and this time we don't have just one Oppi Oppi no Mi for this. No, this is a double dose of Law, so we need 2 Oppi Oppi no Mi's. Thanks to Chase for sending me the other one. I gotta do another fan mail stream in the coming week, because I got a lot of really cool fan mail as of late, right? So we're gonna be doing that, but yeah, man, these things are awesome too, because I'm gonna be rich in the One Piece world. These things sell for like 10 billion berries a piece. I get isekai into the One Piece world, give one of these over to the Marines, get a cool 10 bill, and I still have another one for myself. Yeah, that's how you conquer the place, right? All right, I got 2 hearts. I'm a Time Lord. So last chapter, chapter 996, Law, you know, admits the Battle of Onigashima is actually doing, like, a smart thing, like reconnaissance and trying to explore and find the thing that everybody's trying to look for. Now, of course, the whole goal here, I mean, overall, the goal is to locate the, you know, the road poneglyph, okay? Because in order to get to Laugh Tale, Luffy is going to need all 4 road poneglyphs, right? So they already have the one from Zoe, and they have the one from Big Mom's, you know, place in Totland, you know, because of Brook, and now they're looking for Kaido's, but it's not like the only thing they're going after. It's not like, you know, once they discover the road poneglyph, like, let's say Law finds the road poneglyph next chapter, and then gets a rubbing of it, and then goes back outside and tells Luffy, he's like, Luffy, we got the road poneglyph! Luffy's not gonna be like, oh, cool, great, that's the only reason we came here. Alright, we could ship out everybody, we could bail out now, you got Keen, you have fun! You know, we got what we came for, you guys have fun. No, of course, they're in it for the long haul. They're in it to take down Kaido, right? But Law is like, I think he's really starting to understand how unpredictable Luffy and the Straw Hats are, and especially also with Kid and Killer and their crew. So I think Law is just factoring that into his own plans, and he's just like, wait a second, okay, we're gonna start this raid on Onigashima. Even though everybody has expressly told, like, Luffy and Zoro and Kid to, like, chill out and not go crazy right out of the gate to preserve their stamina to fight Kaido, even though everybody's told them that, me included, they're still definitely just going to charge right in and get into a huge battle, make a huge scene, probably in the first 5 minutes of this battle. So... while they're doing that, they'll probably not die. They'll be good. While they're doing that, I'm going to, like, explore the place. Maybe Law found a map, you know, like, smart things to do. Maybe he, instead of just beating up the gifters and the headliners and knocking them out, maybe he interrogated one. Maybe he grabbed one of the headliners and used his Oppi Oppi no Mi, you know, split their body parts around. He's like, oh no, why? And just like, tell me where there's, give me a map to the compound, or tell me where the basement is to this place so I can find the poneglyphs, or if you know where the poneglyphs is, that'll save me time. Maybe it was something like that, you know, he's being a little bit smart with this. So in the last chapter, we see him going down to the lowest basement level, basement sub-level 2, and he sees a poneglyph down there. Now, it's not a road poneglyph, it's just a regular one, which would mean it's 3 poneglyphs so far that we know of that exist in Wano and Onigashima. Probably a few more, given the fact this is where the poneglyphs were, you know, well, we don't know, like, the whole story behind it, but the Kozuki clan were the stonemasons that etched the alphabet into the poneglyphs. So there's probably a lot in their homeland, right? Of course. So Law is looking at this poneglyph, and he can't read it, of course, but he's thinking about his conversation with Robin about the Will of D, and he kind of, you know, resolves himself to be like, I need to find out the checkered past of the Will of D, the cursed fate that I kind of embody. You know, what was Corazon talking about when he mentioned, you know, the D clan are enemies of God, and all the members of the Will of D that have come before me, and all the ones that have died, because, let's face it here, if if you're a member of the Will of D, you're probably not going to last too long, right? I mean, the odds are certainly not in your favor. Let's pull them up here on the big screen. Survey says... yeah, so there's a lot of them that are dead. Also, that was a Venture Brothers reference right there. God, I miss the Venture Brothers. I hope they bring them back. There's some things about HBO Max maybe picking them up. I hope that happens, because God save the Venture Brothers. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So, you know, Rouge is dead. Roger is dead. Saul is dead. A lot of them are dead, all right? And, you know, they all tend to die with a smile on their face. That's like a common thread. So, I'm reading this chapter, and I came to the conclusion of something kind of like, okay, what if the reason why no one can reveal the nature of the Will of D to people, like Sengoku knows. Sengoku knows 100% what the Will of D really means, and even though Corazon was Sengoku's, like, adoptive son, and Corazon died for Law to keep him alive, and Law got to meet Sengoku, you know, you'd think it'd be a moment where Law asks Sengoku, and Sengoku would be like, alright, you were, like, the guy that Corazon, you know, Roshinate died to protect, so I will tell you everything I know about the Will of D. And so when Law asks him, though, Sengoku kind of just changes the subject. He kind of switches it around and just being like, you know, don't think too much into the compassion that Roshinate showed for you. You know, he was just a good person is what he was. You know, he didn't care for you because of some ancient Will of D prophecy or whatever. No, he cared about you because he cared about you. Okay, he was just a good person. And so Sengoku kind of changes the subject and just kind of walks away. Right? So, I've always been curious about that scene because, like I said before multiple times, and I think a lot of us can kind of arrive at this conclusion, let's say the Will of D, like the D actually stands for a word or maybe a phrase. I don't think finding that out is like the whole secret of the Will of D, right? Like there's a lot of people that say, what if the D stands for dawn or destiny or something like that? I've said it before and I'll say it again. No matter what it is, no matter what word it is, if the Will of D literally is just a single word, I would be disappointed in that. Even if it's a word that we didn't think of, right? Like, for example, let's say Oda creates, like in the Poneglyph language, there's a word that starts with our equivalent of the letter D, and it means, you know, those that fight for their destiny, or those that fight for freedom, and that's a complete nonsense word that Oda just created, and that's what the Will of D stands for. I would still be disappointed, because it's like, so much buildup over 20-something years, and it's just a single word, or a single phrase. The D probably does stand for something, but there's more to it than that. There's way more of a backstory here than just a single word. And also, let's say if it was just a single word, you'd think like Sengoku could have told that much to Law, right? If he would just be like, Law's like, Sengoku, you know, what is the Will of D? You know about it. You used to be the flippin' fleet admiral. You know what this is about, right? You know, freaking Corazon, Roshinate, he died to protect me and make sure I'm alive. Just tell me what it means. Come on, please. You know, like, I'm not gonna spill the beans to anybody. I'm just gonna be here. If the word was just like, oh yeah, the Will of D, the D stands for destiny. The D stands for dawn, because the dawn of a new era. Law would just be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's more to it. So I think it's something like this. I don't think it's Sengoku, you know, didn't want to tell Law because of, you know, him being a fleet admiral and just like, I can't spill the secret, or, you know, the secret will get out or anything like that. I don't think it had anything to do with that, because Sengoku had that, you know, personal connection to Roshinate, plus he was no longer a fleet admiral, plus I think Sengoku would know that Law is good at, you know, keeping it, you know, he wouldn't like just go around blabbing it to everybody. So he could have kept it complete secret if he told Law. I think the reason Sengoku did not tell Law about it was because Sengoku knew that if he told Law, that might hasten Law's death. If any member of the D clan finds out about the secret of the D, it's going to come down to something like laying their lives down for the foundations of a new era. That's why when all of the members of the D clan that we know of have died, they always have a smile on their face. Like, yes, they died. Like, when Ace died, it's sad, but their death was not in vain. In fact, their death was actually, like, every death of the member of the D clan is like another plank building the bridge to, like, freedom or something. You know, some kind of a corny analogy, but something like that is basically the premise here, right? And so if there is some kind of prophecy here or something that like each member of the D clan is meant to do. Maybe it might be individual, maybe it might be in a group thing, you know, where it's like every member that has the will of D has to do this specific thing, and you know, if they can't carry that out, then it's not going to be good for the world at large. Or there might be like this whole thing, like all members of the D clan are like candidates, and you know, basically like most of them have to die for one of them to get to the end. So to use that bridge analogy again, let's say like 100 members of the D clan have to die with a smile on their face to help further the acts of one member of the D clan that actually walks across the bridge at the end of the story. Something like that. Something kind of like that. And so maybe that's why it's so secretive and everything. A lot of the D clan members, not all of them, but tend to die young. Ace died young. Rouge was relatively young. Yeah, Roger was in his 50s. Garp is 70 and he's still alive. Saul was, I think, in his 30s. You know, the interesting thing is that Garp is the only member of the Will of D clan that we know of that's a Marine that actually joined the world government, although it's still stated he likes freedom, which is why he doesn't become an admiral, or he never, you know, accepted the promotion to an admiral, because he thought vice admiral is where I can maintain like the most freedom in the Marines. So does Garp know about it? See, that's the thing. Maybe Sengoku found out about the Will of D, and he found out the secret, and he told Garp, or maybe Garp and Sengoku back in the day, they found out together, because they were always palling around, they were always doing stuff. What happened then? What happened if at some point, you know, they found out the secret together, and then because of the secret, Garp managed to live a lot longer of a life, but things got kind of knocked out of whack because of that? You know, like something like it wasn't supposed to go the way it was. Or maybe it took just a lot longer. Maybe when the Will of D clan lived back during the Void Century, it was like this thing where it's like, okay, we failed to prevent the rise of the world government. The world government, the Tenryubito, they're rising to power. They're going to control the entire world. All we can do is hopefully pass down our wills to those that come after us, but we can't tell them what we need them to do, because this needs to happen in like a particular way. It's all getting very metaphysical, you know, prophecy children kind of mumbo jumbo at this point. But maybe it's something like that. And it's like, it's kind of like, you know, a bunch of monkeys in a room, you know, typing out on like infinite typewriters to write Shakespeare's greatest works. It's like, we don't know how long this is going to take. It might take 1 generation, 2 generations of the Will of D clan to get to this point. It might take 10. It might take 100. We might be at this for thousands of years, but eventually some combination of all these members of the D clan are, you know, with their drive to freedom, with their drive to, and then they all have that. They all have that, just in different ways. That's what makes this interesting. Garp's idea of like the utmost freedom is different from Dragon's, where Dragon wants to demolish the entirety of the Tenryubito system, which is different from Blackbeard, who's a member of the Will of D. His idea of freedom is like burning everything to the ground, which is different from Luffy's idea, which is just traveling the sea and finding the One Piece and like having a great crew and just being able to go wherever you want, kind of whenever you want. A lot of other members of the, you know, the D clan have that idea, but they're all like a little different, but they all focus on freedom. So it's like the D clan back during the Void Century, like Joy Boy, I assume, was a member. Maybe he was the progenitor of the clan or whatever. And it's just like, all right, our clan will live on. Maybe not by blood, necessarily, but by that initial. That initial will be carried on, and those who bear that initial will strive for freedom. It could be anything from, like, lawful good kind of freedom, all the way to chaotic evil kind of freedom. But hopefully, through some combination of these members of the D clan that will come after us, eventually we'll get to that point where freedom does exist all over the world, you know, where the world government finally does collapse or is changed radically, and we can finally get that. Am I making sense to anybody out there right now? I feel like I feel like at this point there's people scratching their heads like, I don't even understand. I don't understand entirely. That's the whole thing about this. It's like, last chapter, I'm reading it, and I'm like, so did we find out new information about the Will of D, or didn't we in this chapter? We found out that Law and Robin had a conversation about it, and, you know, Robin is, of course, you know, she doesn't know more than Law does, although I would have liked it if Robin would have at least talked about her conversation that she had with Rayleigh. And that, it might seem at the surface that Rayleigh did not really give Robin much information about the Void Century or the Will of D. But he did. He did give her some information, all right? It's just, it wasn't the whole mystery revealed, but he did give her something. And when Robin asked about it to Rayleigh, Rayleigh confirmed a few things. First off, he confirmed, the true history of the world, yeah, that exists. It's out there. You can find it. So that at least was reassuring for Robin, like they didn't completely wipe it from history. Like, no, it's still out there. We found it. You could find it too. And Rayleigh is like, I know it. I can tell you. But I would advise you, young lady, to, not hasten yourself, to calm down and kind of take the trip, one day at a time, because the conclusion that you arrive to might be different from mine. I don't think Rayleigh was being an asshole there with like, yeah, I know the secret, but I'm not gonna tell you. Rayleigh did say, I can tell you. I'm okay with telling you. The Straw Hat Crew, I'm all cool with that. I'm cool with Luffy, and Shanks trusts you and everything. I'll tell you the secret, but I'm saying this, and I'm sure Robin could maybe read between the lines because she's Robin. Like, do not hasten yourself like we did. So I think that's pretty much spelling out to Robin, oh, Roger and Rayleigh and all the other members of his crew, they hurried up to, they got there too early. And they arrived at a conclusion, and then Rayleigh went on to say, we couldn't do anything about it, or you couldn't do anything about it anyway. So that could be interpreted in a few different ways. That could be interpreted like, I could tell you the whole mystery right now, but you won't be able to do anything until a certain time comes. Or it's saying that even if you do find out the information, there's nothing you can do to change it, period. So I'm sure Robin could read between the lines there. I wish maybe she could have talked about that with Law a little bit. Like, well, I don't know anything about the Will of D, but I ran into Silver's Rayleigh a couple years ago, and we had a little chat about it, and he told me about, like, so there's something going on, like the Roger crew rushed into it, and they maybe found out a little bit too early. So, if there is some big thing involving the Will of D, it might not happen now. It could happen in a few years, or maybe hundreds of years from now. Like, we don't know. It's kind of this thing where I think Law is really starting to see himself as like, I'm just a cog in the system, I was born with this initial, this secret name that I'm not supposed to tell anybody. I don't know what the hell it's all about. And I think Law is starting to understand, like, maybe the progenitors of this initial, the original members of the D-Clan, we're all just, like, me, Luffy, Blackbeard, Garp, like, Roger, everybody that bore this initial is just, like, the means to an end for this one individual. Is it going to be Luffy? Is it going to be me, Law? Is it going to be Blackbeard? I don't know. But I think Law is starting to understand, like, this is some really messed up stuff, and I might not even like what I find. And if I find out, I might screw the whole system up. But that be damned, Corazon died for this. I need to find out what this is all about. So, yeah, that's the conclusion I arrived to, at least from reading the last chapter. I'm sure Law is going to probably, I don't know if he's going to take an etching of the poneglyph right in front of him. I would assume he would if he has the materials on. I'm like, ah, damn it, I forgot to bring my tape, my etching tape or whatever. But take an etching of that poneglyph, and then, of course, I don't know where the road poneglyph is located. I'm imagining it would be somewhere in the dungeons of Onigashima, so it might be further down where Law is. Maybe hidden behind a secret door, or, like, locked up in, like, a sea prism cage to make damn sure nobody can get into it with devil fruit powers. It's going to be a lot more secure than maybe the one, well, no, all the road poneglyphs we've seen up until now are pretty damn secure. One is in the whale forest of Zou, which is, as I remind you, on a giant elephant in the middle of the New World. And then another one is locked up in Whole Cake Chateau. So they're all pretty secured. So I'm sure this one's going to be secured too. The poneglyph Law found last time was more of just like a hallway decoration. It was like just at the bottom of the stairs. And it's like, yeah, there's a poneglyph. We have just put it at the bottom of the stairs. We put some lamps next to it. Yeah, it's a nice little decor. I like the feng shui in this hallway, right? So Law's going to look around for that, and he's gonna find it, and maybe he has like a picture, Den Mushi. He could always take a picture of it and, show it to Robin later or something to decipher it. But smart move for Law, trying to find it and just reaffirming his overall goal here. And I mean, I was gonna go on a whole spiel about Law's like ultimate plan. I've wanted to do that for a while. That'll probably just be a separate video, because that's whole thing is like, for so long Law just wanted to take out Doflamingo. Well, now Doflamingo's taken care of. So part of me wonders, it's like, okay, Doflamingo was the reason your whole childhood was kind of screwed over, right? You know, not the whole reason. I mean, most of it was the world government destroying Flevens and your family being murdered and the whole town being wiped out. That was the world government. But Doflamingo certainly didn't help, right? Doflamingo shooting like one of the few people that actually cared about you and tried to help you with your chronic disease. You know, Doflamingo shooting him in the face. He didn't do you any favors. So obviously his vendetta was taking out Doflamingo, and that was the whole plan that Law started on Punk Hazard. Like, we're going to take out the SAD, we're going to kidnap Caesar, we're going to go to Dressrosa, we're going to get Doflamingo to resign, we're going to take him out, and, you know, cut off Devil Fruit production with Kaido, and so Kaido's going to be pissed. But after Doflamingo is defeated, he is defeated. He's at Impel Down right now. He's isolated in, like, solitary confinement in level 6. Does Law have any real, like, more of a reason to take on Kaido? Like, does Law certainly might not like Kaido, but he's like, he doesn't hate him as much as Doflamingo, because Doflamingo, like, messed with Law personally. Kaido was just kind of like the shadowy person, like the person buying all the smiles and stuff. And so I think it was through that conversation with Robin, you know, where it's like, oh, we have to defeat the Yonko eventually to discover the mystery of the Will of D, to get the Road Poneglyphs. So we're going to have to do this anyway. And I think that's the thing. Now that Doflamingo is defeated, Law can kind of focus on the other thing he was really trying to discover about his whole life, which was discovering the reason why Corazon, you know, met with the Will of D and the enemy of God, and, you know, the reason he protected him and everything. And I think it was even, like, a few times Law's even, like, apologizing to Corazon. Like, you know, I'm sorry, Corazon, I'm sorry, Roshinate, I need to figure this out. So even if it's like, even if Corazon was right there next to Law, right there, like Ghost Corazon, Jedi Spirit Roshinate appears next to Law and is just like, Law, you don't want to know the secret of the Will of D. It's okay. You defeated Doflamingo. You avenged my death. You don't need to go any further. You could retire and open a bakery. I'm sure you'd be fabulous with your Oppi Oppi no Mi. You could make the most amazing cinnamon buns. And Law's like, I'm sorry, Corazon, but I just need to know this. I need to know the purpose of my cursed fate. You sound so emo right now. I know, but I still need to do it. Emo-ness be damned. So that's that. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll probably be doing another one later down the line about Law's master plan and what he's trying to aim with here, and what direction he's going on. And what happens if he finds out? That's the thing. Like, what happens when he does finally discover the secret? And what if this ties back to another thing? I'll wait off for that video to discuss this, but this is something I get a lot of comments about. Is Law gonna die? Like, is it going to be a thing where he reads the Road Poneglyph? Not the Road Poneglyph, I guess it wouldn't be on there, but he discovers the Will of D at some point, and it's like, hey, yeah, Trafalgar D. Law, you're destined to die because of this, and it's only through your death that you're going to be able to, that this world is going to be able to be free. And Law might have to make a decision to do that. It might not be a death the same way of Ace, you know, being murdered. It might be like giving up his life for the ageless surgery to give it to somebody else. Like, that might be the reason, like, he's destined to die. Or it might be something like a prophecy involving the Oppi Oppi no Mi, where it might be like those who wield the Oppi Oppi no Mi since time immemorial. Maybe one of the original members of the Will of D had the Oppi Oppi fruit. And it's like every single bearer of this fruit were all members of the D clan in the past, and they all had to give their lives to do the ageless surgery to further on the next bearer of this. Like the members that wield the Oppi Oppi no Mi have a very important function that they need to carry out. So the prophecy, whatever Will of D is, it probably would not mention Law by name, but it would mention like those who wield the Oppi Oppi no Mi. If the person reading this has the power of this fruit, you have a very specific set of tasks you need to do. Okay, and if you don't fulfill them, it's going to be bad. It's just going to, if you don't fulfill them, it's going to push it off till the next generation or the next generation. And you know what I mean? So yeah, we know the person that had the fruit before Law was a famous doctor that used it for the ageless surgery. Who did he use the ageless surgery on? Maybe there's a specific kind of person you have to use it on. See, that's the things. It gets very out there, but that's a discussion for another day. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm glad Law did not fall down. Thank you, Chase, for the giant Oppi Oppi no Mi. Have a good one, everybody. Signing out.